Imagine sitting on a plane ready for takeoff when suddenly a flight attendant approaches an elderly woman and demands she leave the aircraft. The reason? A simple misunderstanding. But what the flight attendant doesn't know is that this woman isn't just any passenger. She's the owner of the entire airline. This isn't just a story about power dynamics or a twist of fate. It's a tale of how assumptions can lead to shocking consequences and how one moment can change everything. The scene unfolds on a busy Friday afternoon at a bustling airport. Passengers are shuffling down the aisle, stowing their luggage and settling into their seats. Among them is Mrs. Evelyn Carter, a 72-year-old woman with a quiet demeanor and a warm smile. Dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, she doesn't stand out in the crowd. To most, she looks like any other traveler, perhaps a grandmother heading to visit family or returning from a vacation. But Evelyn is far from ordinary. She's the founder and majority shareholder of Sky Horizon Airlines, the very airline she's flying with today. Yet she prefers to travel incognito, a habit she's maintained for years to stay connected to the real experiences of her customers. As Evelyn takes her seat in first class, she notices the flight attendant, Claire, a young woman in her late 20s with a no-nonsense attitude. Claire is efficient, sharp, and takes her job seriously, but today she's visibly stressed. The flight is overbooked and tensions are high. When Claire notices Evelyn in the first-class cabin, she assumes there's been a mistake. After all, Evelyn doesn't fit the typical profile of a first-class passenger on this route. Without hesitation, Claire approaches Evelyn and asks to see her boarding pass. Evelyn, calm and composed, hands it over, but Claire's suspicions only grow. Convinced there's been an error, she informs Evelyn that she'll need to move to economy, or worse, leave the plane altogether. The other passengers watch in stunned silence as the situation escalates. Evelyn, ever graceful, tries to explain, but Claire is adamant. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to disembark," Claire says firmly, her voice carrying through the cabin. The tension is palpable. Evelyn hesitates for a moment, then stands up, her eyes locking with Claire's. There's a quiet strength in her gaze, a hint of something Claire can't quite place. As Evelyn gathers her things, the other passengers exchange uneasy glances. No one dares to intervene, but the air is thick with unease. What happens next will leave everyone on that plane, and eventually the world stunned. As Evelyn steps off the aircraft, she pulls out her phone and makes a call. On the other end of the line is the CEO of Sky Horizon Airlines, a man who answers to her. Meanwhile, Claire, still unaware of who Evelyn really is, feels a fleeting sense of satisfaction. She believes she's handled the situation professionally, but little does she know, her entire career is about to hang in the balance. This is a story about assumptions, accountability, and the unexpected ways life can humble us. It's a reminder that everyone has a story, and sometimes the quietest person in the room holds the most power. As the plane doors close and the aircraft prepares for takeoff, the passengers are left wondering what just happened and what's going to happen next. But one thing is certain, this flight will be one they'll never forget. Stay tuned, because the real drama is just beginning. What will happen when Claire discovers the truth? How will Evelyn handle the situation? And what does this mean for the future of Sky Horizon Airlines? The answers are coming, but for now, the tension is sky high, and the stakes have never been greater. As the plane taxis down the runway, Claire takes a deep breath, trying to shake off the lingering unease from the confrontation. She tells herself she did the right thing. Protocol is protocol after all. But something about the way the elderly woman looked at her, calm yet piercing, keeps nagging at the back of her mind. Still, Claire brushes it off. She's dealt with difficult passengers before, and this is just another day on the job, or so she thinks. Meanwhile, Evelyn stands on the tarmac, her small suitcase beside her, watching as the plane ascends into the sky. The cool breeze brushes against her face, but her expression remains unreadable. She's not angry, not in the way most people would be. Instead, she's reflective. This isn't the first time she's been underestimated, and it likely won't be the last. But this time feels different. This time it's personal. Sky Horizon Airlines isn't just a business to her. It's her life's work, a legacy built from the ground up. And now it's being mishandled by people who don't understand the values it was founded on. Evelyn's journey to this moment began decades ago, in a time when the aviation industry was dominated by men. As a young black woman with a dream, she faced countless obstacles. Banks turned her away when she sought loans. Competitors laughed at her ambitions. Even her own family questioned whether she was reaching too high. But Evelyn was determined. She started small, with a single plane and a handful of employees. Over the years, she grew Sky Horizon into one of the most respected airlines in the industry, known for its exceptional customer service and commitment to inclusivity. Yet despite her success, Evelyn never forgot where she came from. She made it a point to stay grounded, to listen to her employees and customers, and to lead with empathy. That's why she still flies incognito, why she still insists on experiencing her airline the way her passengers do. Back on the plane, Claire begins her usual routine, serving drinks and snacks to the passengers. But the atmosphere in the cabin is different. The passengers are whispering among themselves, casting occasional glances her way. One man seated in the first row finally speaks up. "Excuse me," he says, his tone polite but firm. "Do you know who that woman was? The one you just asked to leave?" Claire pauses, her smile faltering for a moment. "I'm not sure what you mean," she replies, though a flicker of doubt crosses her face. The man leans back in his seat, shaking his head. "You might want to find out," he says cryptically before turning away. Claire's heart begins to race. She tries to push the comment out of her mind, but it's no use. The seed of doubt has been planted, and it's growing fast. She retreats to the galley, where her colleague Marcus is organizing supplies. "Hey," she says, her voice low, "do you know anything about that woman we just offloaded?" Marcus looks up, his brow furrowing. "Not really." "Why?" Claire hesitates, then shakes her head. "Nothing. Just something one of the passengers said." Marcus gives her a curious look, but doesn't press further. Still, Claire can't shake the feeling that something is very, very wrong. Meanwhile, Evelyn has made her way to the airport's executive lounge. She's greeted by the staff with the utmost respect, though they're clearly surprised to see her. "Mrs. Carter," the lounge manager says, rushing over, "we weren't expecting you today. Is everything all right?" Evelyn offers a small smile. "Everything's fine," she says, though her tone suggests otherwise. She takes a seat by the window, her phone in hand. The call she made earlier was to her assistant, who is now scrambling to arrange a meeting with the airline's top executives. Evelyn knows what needs to be done, but she's not one to act impulsively. She takes a moment to gather her thoughts, to consider the best course of action. This isn't just about Claire. It's about the culture of the company as a whole, and Evelyn is determined to address it head-on. As the hours pass, the news of what happened begins to spread. Passengers on the flight are sharing the story on social media, and it's quickly gaining traction. "Flight attendant kicks elderly woman off plane. Big mistake," one tweet reads. Another post includes a photo of Evelyn taken discreetly by a passenger with the caption, "This woman owns the airline. Imagine the shock when they find out." The hashtag Sky Horizon scandal starts trending, and the airline's PR team is scrambling to contain the fallout. But Evelyn remains calm. She's been through crises before, and she knows that how you handle the storm is just as important as how you weather it. Back at the airline's headquarters, the CEO, Robert Hayes, is pacing his office. He's just gotten off the phone with Evelyn, and the conversation has left him rattled. "I want a full investigation," she had said, her voice steady but firm. "And I want to know how something like this could happen under our watch." Robert knows this isn't just about one flight attendant's mistake. It's about the values of the company, and if those values have been compromised, it's his job to fix it. He calls an emergency meeting with his senior team, but the tension in the room is palpable. Everyone knows this could be a turning point for Sky Horizon, for better or for worse. As the story continues to unfold, the stakes grow higher. Claire, still in the air, is starting to piece together the truth. A passenger hands her a phone, showing her the trending hashtag. Her stomach drops as she reads the posts, her face turning pale. "This can't be real," she whispers to herself. But deep down, she knows it is. The weight of her mistake begins to sink in, and she feels a wave of panic. What will this mean for her job, her career, her future? She tries to focus on her duties, but her hands are trembling. The once confident flight attendant is now a bundle of nerves, dreading what awaits her when the plane lands. And then there's Evelyn, sitting in the lounge, watching as the sun sets over the runway. She knows the next few days will be challenging, but she's ready. This isn't just about holding someone accountable. It's about sending a message that no matter who you are, whether you're a flight attendant, a CEO, or an elderly woman in first class, you deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. And if Sky Horizon has lost sight of that, it's her job to bring it back. The stage is set for a showdown, but the outcome is far from certain. Will Claire lose her job? Will Evelyn's actions lead to lasting change within the company? And what will this mean for the passengers who witnessed it all? The answers are still up in the air, just like the plane carrying Claire and the rest of the crew. One thing is clear: this story is far from over, and the next chapter promises to be even more dramatic than the last. Stay tuned, because the turbulence is just beginning. As the plane continues its journey, Claire's mind races. She can't stop thinking about the elderly woman she asked to leave, Evelyn Carter, the owner of Sky Horizon Airlines. The weight of her mistake feels like a boulder on her chest, and every passing minute makes it harder to breathe. She tries to focus on her duties, but her hands shake as she hands out drinks, and her smile feels forced. The passengers, now fully aware of what's happened, watch her with a mix of curiosity and judgment. Some whisper among themselves, while others avoid eye contact altogether. Claire feels exposed, as if the entire cabin is silently accusing her. She retreats to the galley, where Marcus notices her distress. "Hey, are you okay?" he asks, his voice tinged with concern. Claire shakes her head, her eyes welling up. "I think I just made the biggest mistake of my life," she admits, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus doesn't know what to say. He's never seen Claire like this, usually so confident, so in control. But now she looks like a completely different person. Meanwhile, at Sky Horizon's headquarters, the emergency meeting is in full swing. Robert Hayes, the CEO, sits at the head of the table, his expression grim. Around him, the senior executives exchange uneasy glances. The room is tense, the air thick with unspoken fears. Robert clears his throat and begins. "As you all know, we're facing a serious situation. Mrs. Carter was removed from one of our flights today by one of our own employees." A collective gasp fills the room. No one can believe what they're hearing. Robert continues. "This isn't just a PR nightmare, it's a failure of our values. Mrs. Carter has made it clear that she expects a full investigation, and she's right. We need to find out how this happened and what we can do to make sure it never happens again." The executives nod, but their faces are pale. They know this isn't just about one flight attendant, it's about the culture of the entire company. And if they don't handle this carefully, the fallout could be catastrophic. Back at the airport, Evelyn sits in the executive lounge, her phone buzzing constantly. News outlets are reaching out for comments, and her assistant is fielding calls from concerned shareholders. But Evelyn remains calm. She's been through crises before, and she knows that how you respond is just as important as the crisis itself. She takes a deep breath and begins drafting a statement. It's short, but powerful. At Sky Horizon, we believe in treating every passenger with dignity and respect. What happened today is not reflective of who we are, and we are committed to making it right. She sends it off, then leans back in her chair, her mind racing. She knows this is just the beginning. The real work starts now. As the story continues to spread online, the public's reaction is mixed. Some people are outraged, calling for Claire to be fired immediately. Others are more sympathetic, pointing out that everyone makes mistakes. A few even defend Claire, arguing that she was just doing her job. But one thing is clear, the incident has struck a nerve. It's not just about an elderly woman being kicked off a plane. It's about power, privilege, and the way people are treated based on how they look. The hashtag Sky Horizon scandal continues to trend, and the airline's social media accounts are flooded with comments. Some passengers are sharing their own stories of mistreatment, while others are calling for a boycott. The PR team is working overtime, but the damage is already done. On the plane, Claire is struggling to keep it together. She knows that when they land, she'll have to face the consequences of her actions. But what will those consequences be? Will she lose her job? Will she be publicly shamed? The uncertainty is unbearable. She tries to distract herself by helping a young mother with her baby, but even that feels hollow. The once confident flight attendant is now a shadow of her former self, and she can't help but wonder if she'll ever recover from this. Meanwhile, Evelyn is preparing for the next steps. She's scheduled a meeting with Robert and the senior team, but she knows that's not enough. She wants to hear from the employees, the flight attendants, the ground crew, the people who interact with passengers every day. She wants to understand what's really going on within the company, and she wants to make sure that no one else ever feels the way she did today. It's a daunting task, but Evelyn is determined. She didn't build Sky Horizon by backing down from challenges, and she's not about to start now. As the plane finally begins its descent, Claire braces herself for what's to come. She knows that when the doors open, her life will change forever. But how? Will she be met with reporters, cameras and angry crowds? Or will she be given a chance to explain herself, to make things right? She doesn't know, and that uncertainty is the hardest part. She looks out the window at the city below, her heart pounding in her chest. The once familiar sight of the runway now feels like a looming threat. And then there's Evelyn standing in the lounge, watching as the plane approaches. She knows that when it lands, the real work begins. This isn't just about holding someone accountable, it's about rebuilding trust, both within the company and with the public. It's about proving that Sky Horizon is more than just an airline. It's a family, and families stick together, even in the toughest times. The stage is set for a confrontation, but the outcome is far from certain. Will Claire be given a second chance? Will Evelyn's actions lead to lasting change? And what will this mean for the future of Sky Horizon Airlines? The answers are still up in the air, just like the plane carrying Claire and the rest of the crew. One thing is clear, this story is far from over, and the next chapter promises to be even more dramatic than the last. Stay tuned, because the turbulence is just beginning.